Welcome to Empowered by AI, the podcast for women entrepreneurs ready to harness AI to take their businesses to the next level. I'm your host, Michelle Muncie Silva, founder of Innovative AI Studios. You may have left corporate life to start this entrepreneurial journey, but you don't have to go it alone. Here, you'll find a supportive community of like-minded women and an invaluable thought partner each week, as my guests and I share actionable insights you can use right away. So let's dive in together. All right, ladies, I do not overstate. We are honored to have Dr. Claire Jacobs with us this time around. I had the joy of listening to her speak, and it was absolutely phenomenal. And so I cannot wait to have her introduce herself to you and have a chance to talk to her and share her thoughts with us. So Dr. Claire Jacobs, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle, on your beautiful podcast. I'm really excited.
I would love for you to just share a little bit about what's going on with you and what you're all about for everyone.
Absolutely. I'm Dr. Claire Jacobs. I'm a clinical psychologist in San Antonio, Texas, and also have recently opened my practice has shifted, and I have opened a life coaching arm so that I can be available to a lot more people. When you're a psychologist, you're limited to who you can see or at least can bill for. When you're a life coach, the world, you're available to the world. So that's the reason for the recent shift. I met Michelle through a fabulous online organization, She Reads AI. And in my practice, in my coaching, I work with brilliant, high-achieving women who are secretly battling self-doubt and burnout and imposter syndrome. And my coaching helps them stop trying to force themselves into broken systems, because the systems were not made for us. The systems are broken. Not made for women, not made for neurodivergent women, neurodivergent people of any type. What I try and do is help people create rhythms that actually work with their brain instead of a neurotypical brain that's just like everybody else's, except not. So I'm passionate about showing women that they are not broken. In fact, their neurodivergent wiring is often really one of their greatest strengths. When you can think differently, then you can provide such a different level of insight and help and skill to a work environment or anywhere really, home, social, wherever.
And you've written about being of service to women and some of the fears that are unique to us. And I think especially what's resonating with me right now is you wrote about that fear that if high achieving women slow down, they'll fall behind. So I'm really curious because that's personal with me. I think that is one of my biggest fears, is that I would be doing nothing, because then I would just be nothing, right? That battle that we have within ourselves. So I'm wondering why you think this belief is so persistent, because I know if I have it, I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. Why do you think it's so persistent? And what's a practice that the listeners can try this week to test out the opposite?
Absolutely. I think one of the big reasons that this belief is so persistent, at least in this culture, is because we're raised in a culture that rewards speed and output. Get it going. Hustle, baby. From the time we're little, especially as girls, we've got this pressure on us. We're taught that hustle equals worth. I think you were just illustrating that even as an adult, that belief is in the back of your mind. I will just let you know that hustle does not equal worth, that you are worthy, whether you're hustling or not. So slowing down, if you've got this in the back of your mind, slowing down then feels risky. It's almost like we're going to get punished. I'll be nothing, or people won't like me anymore, or I'll lose my job, or whatever. It's important to remember that the truth is that even the most elite athletes have a training schedule with cycles of rest and recovery, because you have to have that rest and recovery in order to be able to function at an elite level. So the same holds true for us. Slowness is not laziness, it's strategy. And that's really important to remember, because it's so easy to not build that into our strategy or to be healthy and happy and successful in our lives. One practice that I give my clients is what I call like a power pod. And so one thing that y'all could do is this week, schedule just one 15-minute block where you intentionally move slower. Take a walk without multitasking. Strange thought.
I feel so seen.
Like, I was thinking, even if I said the word, we don't even use the word like dual tasking, like it's multitasking, like multiple things at the same time. So just go take a look, go out in nature, go around the inside of your living room even. Don't multitask. Or write in a notebook. Write something. Doodle. Simply breathe. Just take that time. Just carve out this tiny little section of time for yourself. Just slow down. To let it all just evaporate away for that 15 minutes. And then, you can go back to whatever it is you need to do. But at least you refilled your tank a little bit. The experiment itself shows you that the whole world doesn't collapse just because you took that break. The experiment proves that the belief that you have to keep moving frenetically, that belief is wrong. It's just not accurate. And so give it a shot. Do what happens. I'll be interested to hear from you.
Yeah, see how we might wake up a new idea, a new thing that we were running too quickly to ponder before, or something like that. Just
Absolutely.
yeah. I know I didn't even realize that I was doing this for a really long time, but I think one of my children actually woke this up in me. I realized, because in elementary school, there's a reward system oftentimes that we're brought up with, that you'll get a gold star if you do this. We'll move your clip up if you do that. And I always just thought that I had a very normal reaction to that. Some of my children have very normal reaction to that. Like what I considered to be normal. You want the gold star. You want to move your clip up.
Yeah.
And I had my youngest child. I will never forget this. My oldest was trying to help him learn to color inside the lines. And he looked at him and he said, "I'll give you a gold star if you color in the lines." And he dug that crayon into the paper and just outside the lines. And my oldest son was just horrified. He said, "Why are you doing that?" And my youngest said, "Because I don't need your gold star."
Oh my God.
And I just watched that moment and I thought, wait, there's another way? There are those that don't want the gold star? What? And my youngest became like this point of observation for me. I was like, wait, what is this alien way of being? Because my oldest is much more like me. I wanted the gold star, and I just observed my youngest is because others, wait, what is that unique perspective that you possess? And so I tell that story just because it was alien to me that you would not want the external validation. And I think that school, really drives that point home for a lot of kids as well. And not just mine, obviously, but it's so many women run on that gold star fuel, right? That grades, whether it be grades in school, praise from family members, recognition from a workplace. But that's external. And I think your expertise really lies in, and I'm going to tap on this, helping us How do we move from external validation to building that genuine self-trust? What are some daily or weekly habit supports that women actually feel a win instead of waiting for the validation to come in?
Oh, man. Yeah. Excellent question. External validation, as you pointed out, we've been raised to want it. Now, who wouldn't want to go, other than your son, maybe, who wouldn't want to like sarcasm? Being exactly. But it's fragile fuel. It only goes so far, and it feels good for a second, but it never lasts.
Yeah.
Self-trust is what we're going for. That's a renewable resource. Self-trust. And it grows when you collect the evidence that you're capable, that you're enough, that you're making progress, that you know what you're doing. And maybe you're not all the way there yet, but you're moving. So one simple shift is keeping what I call a daily wins log. At the end of the day, every night, just jot down 3 small things, 3 small wins. Could be something really small. Sent that email, rested instead of doom scrolling. That's a big one, at least for me. Asked for help. That one's actually the hugest one for me, so I'll just let y'all know. That one's big. Write down those 3 things that you can look back on your day and see, oh, you know what? I did that. I did good. Over time, what you're doing is you're building an internal evidence file. Not the actual paper where you jotted it down, but in here, you are building this knowledge, this trust that you've got it. The evidence file that says, I can trust myself. I don't have to rely on somebody else to tell me that I'm doing okay. That practice is what turned the hollow gold stars into solid self-confidence. And I think that's what most of us are aiming for, really. Whether we want self-confidence and self-trust.
Mhm. And I have to tell you, ever since I read your newsletter piece about that, that has been my new mantra. It's okay. How can I trust myself here? Because that is 90% of why I am waking up at 2 a.m. and not able to fall back asleep. It's that, holy cow, forgot about X. Or I wake up and whatever I was most worried about during the day is just right there in glaring, cinematic, technicolor.
Oh, yeah.
And I know,
Found.
yeah, yeah. And you've shared some real red flags that pop up for people, like rather it be rereading that same email or that feeling, that's which this is me at 2 a.m., that feeling wired and tired. Now I can't go to sleep because now I'm stressed about something. So if a listener is really recognizing herself in some of those signs, what's the very first step for a reset?
What I would say is the first step is to start to notice, to even pay attention to it happening, and to recognize that it's something that you can develop skills to counteract it. So if you notice yourself rereading the same email 4 times, or you have that wired, tired feeling, that's your nervous system that's waving a red flag at you saying, I'm maxed out. I'm maxed out right now. So pay attention to it and let's act on it. So what can we do? The first step is to just pause. It's simple. Just pause. Whatever you're doing, stop typing. Sit back. Take a sip of water. Take 3 deep breaths. Just change what it is that you were doing. Give yourself a break. And what you're doing there, it sounds ridiculously simple, but the whole point is that you're teaching your body, your brain, that you can interrupt that spiral. You have control over that. So you interrupt the spiral, and then that tiny reset clears just enough space for your brain to get back online.
And you have said that rest isn't a reward, it's required fuel. And I know you talked about not multitasking for 15 minutes earlier, right? the part about it's so hard, if I could just have a moment to be real, is that I think for women who are balancing a business, they're balancing family. Maybe they've got a side hustle on top of their side hustle. You know what I mean? Because it goes back to that idea. We said that we were afraid if we slowed down that there would just be nothing. So a lot of times we were packing everything. And so I'm just wondering, what is a practical way to protect that 15 minutes, that recovery time without guilt?
I think the first step is to change how we're thinking about it. If we think of it as, oh, I'm going to go goof off, which I would argue is not a bad thing, but let's change the feeling tone of that a little bit. Think of rest as a healthy thing. Think of it like charging your phone. You don't apologize for charging your phone. You don't say, I know my phone's on 0, but I'm just going to keep working on it anyway and talking with people who are no longer there or able to hear you because your phone has run out of energy. So the same is true for your brain. One practical step then is to create what I would call a non-negotiable recharge anchor. So not just the 15 minutes that we talked about earlier, but it could be something even a little bit bigger, a rule, a boundary that you set, like I don't do meetings on Saturdays, or 10 p.m. device cutoff, or at lunchtime I'm going to go take a walk. Just something that is giving your brain and body a little bit of a break from the constant pressure and go that, like you said, it's hard to say. But if you don't give yourself those boundaries, what you're doing is you're trying to talk on a phone that's pretty much going to be on 0. And that's not going to work.
No, that's
Not
very true.
effectively anyway.
Yeah, no,
So-
it's not.
So start with one boundary and treat it like brushing your teeth. It's not optional. No, sorry. Saturday. I don't do meetings on Saturday. Whatever the rule, the boundary that you're setting. And remind yourself that protecting recovery time makes you more effective everywhere else. And that's, so if you need to see it in terms of productivity, okay, there you go. I'm going to give myself this time because it will make me more productive. Even though in this particular moment, I'm touching the grass or taking a nap, but it's going to make me more productive overall. And that's not a bad thing at all.
No, and so true. And I think oftentimes we don't allow ourselves to recognize that. Yeah. So I think that I'm hearing you say that, okay, so we've got this strategy during the day. We've got this way to maybe even schedule ourselves so that we can honor our limits. But what about when it encroaches? Okay. I'm totally guilty of waking up at god awful o'clock. I've got a worry. I've got a mistake on my mind. And it just seems so much bigger in the evening when everything's dark and everybody else is asleep but me, it feels like. So what is one strategy that we can use in that moment to quiet that inner critic and get back to the sleep we so desperately need?
My husband used to call it the 2 a.m. Oh my God. I think because of the cortisol levels in your body or what, I'm not a neuroscientist, so I can't tell you exactly what it is, but it happens. At 2 a.m., your brain all of a sudden is, I need a megaphone and wake this person up and review all the things that could be horrible that could be happening. So one strategy to deal with that is, I call it name it and park it. So keep a notepad by your bed. And this really works really well, I tell you. To keep a notepad by your bed, and when thought occurs in the middle of the night, write it down. Just write it down and say to yourself, okay, this has a home, and I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll deal with that tomorrow. What that does then is it tells your brain that it can stop holding on to it. It doesn't have to worry that you're going to forget. Okay, That's why I'm waking you up at 2 a.m. because you might forget. I wrote it down. I'm going to get to it tomorrow. And you can then help yourself more easily, hopefully go back to sleep. Then, after you've written it down, pair that with a simple breathing technique. And I thought maybe we could do that together if you would like. It's
I
just
would love to.
a 4-7-8, because those are cool numbers. 4-7-8 breathing technique, where you inhale for a count of 4, you hold it for a count of 7, and then you slowly exhale for a count of 8. So you're exhaling like twice as slowly as you were inhaling. You want to try it?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's try it.
All right. Let's take in a deep breath, count to 4 in your head, hold it for 7, and then slowly exhale. Do a couple of those, and what it does is it shifts you out of thinking mode and back into rest mode. I know you're all calm and rested now. For the rest of the podcast, you're just going to be like, I'm so calm. And you can do the
Absolutely.
whenever you need it.
I am going to hang on to that. I am. That works. I love it. It's amazing the power of breath.
So true. So true. Oxygen. I'm addicted. What can I say?
Yeah. Yeah. And in your coaching, when you have these moments, like what is a common shift that you see when women stop like forcing themselves into, whether it be a broken system or a broken train of thought, and instead they create these rhythms that work with their brains?
The biggest shift usually first is really for all women here. It's like when you get home and you unhook your bra, maybe, or maybe bras aren't your thing, but you go and you climb into your comfy PJs. Like that, like, okay, relief. And then what that does is that allows creativity to start bubbling. So when women stop blaming themselves for not fitting into rigid systems, so stop blaming yourself for not fitting into a rigid system that wasn't created for you in the first place. What that does is it frees up all that energy that used to go into self-criticism, and it allows that energy naturally to flow into innovation and creativity and problem solving. So you are automatically, they have been automatically more productive, more innovative, because they were able to let go of that self-blame. And when you, an example, okay, and one client who stopped trying to time block every minute of their day, and instead they used what they called theme days. So, like, Mondays was reserved for writing, Tuesdays was meetings, Wednesdays was for deep strategy. So they actually clumped it like that so that you could, and she could focus on that one task and be in that head frame, that mindset for the day. Or if that doesn't work for you for half a day, what works for one person can be tweaked to work for you, perhaps. That allowed her then to be much more productive. Her productivity soared, her stress levels dropped. When you work with your brain, let's figure out what works for your brain. When you work with your brain, it feels like alignment instead of punishment.
And I'm wondering because I know sometimes I've heard the term neurospicy. Neurospicy individuals, their brains are wired for creativity, for recognizing patterns, for problem solving. And I'm wondering what is a way that you see women being able to lean into those strengths instead of fight against them? Do you see this kind of scheduling as maybe being one of those ways?
Oh, absolutely. One powerful way of working on that is to put yourself where those strengths actually shine. No two brains are alike, obviously, but if your brain sees patterns and connections quickly, often volunteer for projects or in your community or whatever that need brainstorming and troubleshooting, big picture visioning. That's what your brain is really good at. So let's maximize that. If your brain is like majorly creative, look for the tasks that can really maximize your creativity so that you can feel like you're really functioning in a way that feels familiar and comfortable and contributing in a way that's recognized by the people around you. That's your sweet spot. Then pair it with an accountability buddy or a simple follow-through system so that your brilliance in those meetings doesn't get lost. And instead of fighting your wiring, what you're doing is you're showcasing it as the asset that it really is. I wanted to share a quote that ChatGPT disappointingly said was not actually from Einstein, but I'm sure Einstein would have said this because I think it's a really great quote. It says, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid.
Yep.
You're not stupid. You're just not built to climb trees, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to embrace our strengths. And I think so many of us have learned to mask to fit into a corporate experience or an industry experience. And I call it corporate residue. It clings to you. And so I'm wondering how entrepreneurs can get rid of some of that corporate residue and show up in their businesses more authentically and not have some of that trauma and feel safe and respected and discard some of that old baggage.
Absolutely. I think part of what you're describing is masking. And that kind of masking is just exhausting. You're constantly playing a role and often getting critical, like negative feedback from people when you slip out of that role, perhaps. So the way to start peeling back the mask so that you can eventually take it off and feel much more comfortable as your authentic self is to not rip it off all at once, because that doesn't work, period. But do it in authenticity micro shifts. So teeny tiny little steps towards being more authentically you. For example, in a meeting, you might share a personal story, which is something that perhaps you wouldn't have done before. Maybe no one else in the room is going to share a personal story, but you can share a personal story, something that's authentically you. Or simply say, tell whomever you're speaking with, I work best when XYZ. Just let them know who you are and what it is that you need that helps you function best. Each little moment, what it does is it signals safety to your whole nervous system. And when you find allies who respect those shifts, you realize that you don't have to hide successful. You don't have to hide who you are behind that mask. You can loosen that mask notch by notch and be comfortable in your own skin.
What a gift that is.
Indeed.
What a gift. So, for the woman listening right now who feels exhausted, scattered, maybe even unsure if she's enough, what is one doable action? We always throw down the gauntlet at the end of the episode where this is a challenge. What is one doable action she can take today to start rebuilding that confidence and that energy?
Or maybe building it for the first time.
Mm.
So today, choose just one tiny reset. It could be something as basic as drinking a glass of water before you have your next coffee. You can do that. That's doable. Take a 5-minute walk outside. We talked about the value of that. Text a supportive friend. Do one little thing slightly different for you. Small wins count. I'm going to say that again. Small wins count. They're important because each one is evidence that you are moving forward. So pay attention to them. Remember, making that list of 3 things every night of the win. That helps your brain become more and more aware of the win, the steps forward, and it helps boost your confidence and helps you see yourself much more clearly. And even if you don't feel it yet, remind yourself that you are already enough.
Dr. Claire Jacobs, we are all the better for having hung out with you for this time. I so appreciate you.
Thank you, Michelle. It's been a joy. I appreciate so much you letting me into this conversation. And if you're listening out there and something resonated, I'd encourage you to try just one small step today, whether it's writing down those 3 wins tonight or simply taking a 5-minute pause. Confidence and energy are rebuilt one micro action at a time, one tiny step at a time. And if you'd like to connect or learn more, you can always find me on LinkedIn.
And where do they find you? Do you have a website? And the LinkedIn, I will definitely add to the show notes.
Okay.
Is there a website you'd like to have them go to as well?
Yeah, my LinkedIn is my name, Claire Jacobs, PhD. I don't think there are any imposters out there.
We will shoo them away if there are.
And my website, although it's being polished right now, but my website is dr-claire.com. So dr-claire.com.
I love it. We will have that in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time and for your guidance. We are so grateful.
Remember, rest is not a reward. It's required fuel. So take care of yourself. And thank you again for letting me come. This was super.
Thank you for tuning in to Empowered by AI. If today's episode sparked ideas, don't wait. Follow the link in the show notes to visit innovativeaistudio.com and download your free resource created to help you put today's insights into practice. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes packed with more tips, tools, and inspiring stories. Until next time, stay empowered and keep innovating.